Hey, guys, so here's the deal. We're all talking about Prince Andrew because he seems to be the biggest name that has faced the police so far in the Epstein investigation and everything that's come out of the Epstein files. I talked about it a little bit on Katie Pavlich tonight on News Nation this week. But before I show you this, the thing is, it's absolutely infuriating. Epstein was an American. A lot of the men were American, found in the files, doing bad things. And not one American man has gone down for what they knew, what they might have done, or their complicity with Epstein. Now, we don't know yet because these guys haven't even been questioned by the police. This is absurd. This is crazy making. Now, a lot of people are like, hey, well, you got to have a complaint first. Yeah, well, I believe that, what was it, 12 women who showed up to Congress last week tried to make a complaint, but Pam Bondi wasn't listening, didn't even look at them. Yeah, all right, watch the clip. I will catch you on the flip.
Senior advisor to Kamala Harris, Mike Nellis, and News Nation's senior story editor and entertainment correspondent, Paula Froelich. Great to see you both tonight. Thank you so much. Paula, this is astonishing given how this has not happened in many, many years with the royal family, a royal family member arrested. But I think it's important to point out that this arrest seems to have not been about accusations of sexual misconduct, but about misconduct in public office and a separate issue. So is this actually related to claims against certain officials in the United States of sexual misconduct, or is it a completely different matter altogether?
I think it will be going further down the line. They will be looking into sexual misconduct. But right now, they're doing what I like to call the Al Capone offense. You know, Al Capone went down for tax evasion. He did not go down for the multiple brutal murders he committed. So right now, I think they're going after exactly what Andrew did as a trade envoy during his time in 2001 to 2011. And because the emails are so clear, forwarding confidential information to Epstein and several other people about his trips to China, Hong Kong, Singapore, Vietnam, and also discussing investment opportunities in Afghanistan, where the British government was trying to rebuild Helmand province. He also then got his assistant, Amanda Thirsk, to get the details of Iceland's economic distress and forwarded those as well. It's pretty serious. It's, you know, the last guy who went down 600 some years ago was down for treason, and a lot of people are calling this treasonous as well.
Yeah, certainly a big deal. Mike, on the topic of the Clintons, the former president and first lady are set to be deposed in New York on February 26th and 27th. This is after months of noncompliance with a number of House subpoenas. Listen to what Hillary Clinton had to say about links to Epstein, and then I'll get your reaction.
Do you regret the links that there have been?
You know, we have no links. We have a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about, which my husband has said. He took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him.
Did you ever meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did on a few occasions.
So she says she's eager to talk about this, but it seems like she doesn't want to do it to investigators with the Oversight Committee. Mike.
Well, I think they've asked to speak publicly has been their demand, and I think they should speak publicly, and I think everybody else in the file should too. The way that the Trump DOJ has handled this has been less than above board. They've concealed these documents. In fact, the only reason that Prince Andrew is being held accountable right now is because Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie got all of Congress to force a law forward to get these documents released. So we need more transparency here. I encourage everybody who's got any tie with Jeffrey Epstein, including the Clintons, to go answer in front of the public what they did, what they know. And let's get to the bottom of this and hold everybody accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
Well, I think it's important to remind everybody that President Trump signed the law to release the Epstein files, and they are
After
now
intense
being
public
released.
pressure, yes.
But he still signed it, and they've been releasing them. Paula, what is it when it comes to Bill Clinton? He has the closest ties here in terms of Democrats. Has been talked about for years. Jeffrey Epstein had a painting of him in his New York City apartment of him in a blue dress with red heels on, and yet now all of a sudden the Clintons want to just distance themselves from this and act like they were never involved.
Yeah, well, they've been trying to do this for years. Here's the deal. I don't believe anything that Bill Clinton says at this point. He is a known liar, and we can point to his entire past of untruths. As for Hillary, I don't actually think Hillary was involved with Epstein that much. Yes, she probably met Ghislaine Maxwell. She probably met him through her husband, Bill.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Bill has had a tendency to drag Hillary Clinton into a number of these issues. But Mike, Prince Andrew.
I'm not Andrew.
You're not Andrew. You are not Andrew. I apologize about that. You are Mike.
Sorry.
Yes, I apologize. Prince Andrew, again, I would say, was not arrested because of crimes necessarily against women. He was arrested for basically violating British law and customs that the royal family is expected to uphold when they're doing their service to the country. So when it comes to the differences in the legal arenas, British law is very different than U.S. law. Do you think that that will have any impact on how this is now handled in the U.S.?
Well, I think I'll take any bit of accountability that I can get from the rich and the powerful and the well-connected who have been abusing little boys and little girls and covering this up. So I'm happy to see it in the context of the situation that we're in now. The real question for me is, what does Prince Andrew know? Can he tie in, connect, and get evidence for others? How can the US and the UK and other countries work together to expose what I believe is essentially a class of people who feel like they can get away with doing anything and really needs to go down regardless of political party? So if Andrew knows something and wants to trade that to stay out of prison or keep the private compound that he was already living on, I think the thing I learned today that was so ridiculous is Andrew had been stripped of his titles, stripped of the private land he was living on, and given other private land to live on. And so it just feels like these guys, no matter how creepy and illegal they act, they still win in the end. So it's just insane to me.
Yeah, I think that's why people are furious and want accountability. But Paula, this one person who was very close to Jeffrey Epstein up until the time that he committed suicide and died is Catherine Rumler, who was, of course, President Obama's White House counsel, who corresponded with Jeffrey Epstein about his prostitution scandal and a number of other things, calling him Uncle Epstein, Uncle Jeffrey.
Uncle Jeffrey.
Uncle Jeffrey. So, this is something that a lot of Democrats have not wanted to talk about. They've talked a whole lot about Donald Trump, who was one of the people who called the FBI to turn these people in. But they don't want to talk about the people who were involved with Epstein until his almost very last days.
Well, here's the deal, Katie. I want to get back to accountability because, again, I agree they should all be held accountable, including Catherine. I mean, she also gave out the secrets she wasn't supposed to do, over email about a very confidential investigation into the Secret Service. I say, haul everybody. I think it's also ironic that the British are actually holding people accountable when, in fact, in the U.S., nobody has really been held accountable to the law. They've had social repercussions and ramifications with their jobs, perhaps, but no one has been called in front of a police investigation. This is ridiculous.
Well, I mean, beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So maybe they don't have as much evidence as they would like. But for me, reading through these files, it's very clear that whether the people who were involved with Epstein, they were all covering for each other because they really liked the lifestyle and they were willing to turn their head when it came to this stuff because they wanted to be connected. And that's certainly not paying off at this time for many of them as their names are being released in these files. Lots of people have been resigning. So this is going to continue. Thank you both, Paula and Mike, for taking the time to unpack what comes next in this investigation. Paula, stay right there. We do have some breaking news, some sad news tonight. Actor Eric Dane has passed away at the...
Right. So there we go. Here's the point. Donald Trump might have asked for the release of the files, but it was done in such a weird way. A lot of the men's names were redacted. The women's weren't. A lot of the women don't actually want to have to talk to their now husband or children about being sexually trafficked or their horrific past. Now they have to. But I think Donald still has a lot to answer for. He should at least be questioned by impartial people. Other people who I would like to see questioned, Bill Clinton. He's all over that. And Bill says, and he and Hillary, I don't think Hillary should be questioned. I don't think she had anything to do with it. Bill has always said, no, it was just for business. Yeah, but that doesn't hold water anymore. Do you know why? Because Bill and Hillary were invited to the King of Morocco's wedding. All right. Hillary said she didn't want to go, so Bill brought his daughter, Chelsea, and then he brought his friend, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, here's the deal. I don't know about you, but it's not that cool to call up somebody and be like, hey, I know I'm a guest at your wedding, but as a guest, can I bring a guest? Huh? And you certainly just don't do that for business acquaintances. KK? So yeah, Bill's got a lot to answer for. Another person who has a lot to answer for, Howard Lutnick. That guy, he was the neighbor of Epstein on the Upper East Side here. And yeah, he claims he cut off all communication with Epstein. He didn't. He claims they weren't that close. They were. And yeah, it's great. There's some other people. Steve Bannon. Oh, God. A bunch of these guys. I also would like Bill Barr. Bill Barr seems to be all over it as well. RFK Jr. Emails and audio transcripts in the files reveal that Kennedy had joined Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell on a fossil hunting expedition. Just like you do. And also taking fossils from this reservation without tribal permission is illegal. FYI, not that he cares. He's probably too busy still working out with Kid Rock in his jeans and bare feet. What? I mean, what is this guy? Is RFK a never nude? What is going on? Another guy, Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court Justice. Yep. He was in contact with Epstein, and emails are revealing that Epstein sympathized with Brett Kavanaugh during his Supreme Court nomination. I can't with these guys. Then we've got Bill Richardson. He dead, former governor of New Mexico. But I've been saying for years, why were people having him on TV as an expert? He tried to, blinky over here, distract and distort by becoming a hostage negotiator. And that's great, but he's still a scumbag. And he also allowed Epstein and his New Mexico ranch to just operate the way they would, do whatever, It's pretty great. Les Wexner, gross. He went in front of Congress, still gross. You bankrolled the guy. Either you're complicit or you're really, really dumb, Les. And okay, there we go. Tom Pritzker, Hyatt Hotels. Now, he retired as executive chairman from Hyatt, but where's the police investigation? Why ain't he talking? Okay, we got Catherine Rumler, Goldman Sachs top lawyer, former Obama lawyer. We talked about her a bit in the clip. She also retired, resigned, whatever. Where the cops, boo? Why aren't they talking to you? It's absurd. Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn co-founder, he is also heavily all over those files. You have people like Woody Allen or, my favorite and Oprah's best friend, Deepak Chopra, who wrote, hold on, uno momento, let me get this because it is so gross. He actually wrote, this, by the way, this is the guy who wants to teach you about the divine feminine. This guy, he asked Epstein to, quote, find me a cute Israeli. Yeah, I can't. He told Epstein to, quote, bring your girls to Israel, saying good when Epstein told him an accuser dropped her case. This was 9 years after Epstein's conviction. Chopra now says he's deeply saddened, and his emails showed poor judgment in tone. In tone. The only tone he should be hearing right now is his ringtone with the cops a-calling. It's just, here's the point. It is absolutely absurd that America has not gotten on the case of these gross men and women, frankly. It's absurd that we are behind the Brits in holding people accountable for their actions. And the longer that this goes on, I don't care who you are, Republican, Democrat, billionaire, not a billionaire. If you do bad stuff, you should be held accountable. And the longer that this goes on, the more Americans distrust their political system and their banking institutions. They distrust all authority. This leads to disaster. It's like anarchy. This is ridiculous. We live under the rule of law, and everyone should be held accountable. I'm infuriated. If there's anyone else you want me to add to this video for future videos to try to hold them accountable, that would be great. Let me know, because I'm mad.